Hey, my name's Grant. I live in a bus. I've lived in this bus for almost 2 years now. I started thinking about living in a bus back in 2020, is now 2025, right? So almost 5 years in total of thinking about this and planning this and wanting to do this and doing it, right? It all started once I got to that point of high school where everybody was just kind of asking, what are you planning on doing after high school? Where are you going to college? What do you want to be? What do you want to do with your life? I had no clue at all, like zero. Um, and so obviously that is super, super stressful for me because I'm like, what do you mean? What am I supposed to do with the rest of my life? I haven't even experienced enough of it to even have an idea, right? Also, I didn't want to have to spend thousands of dollars for something I didn't even want to do. That led me to the thought of, okay, I'm not going to college. What am I going to do with my time? I can't just sit around and do nothing, right? And so I was like, okay, everybody talks about, if I could go back, I would have done this. If I could go back, I would have done that. I wish I could have, traveled more. I wish I would have seen more things while I was still able to, you know. And so I'm like, dang, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to get to 40, 50 years old and be like, man, I wish I would have done blank, right? I don't want to have to think that about anything ever. So I'm like, okay, all these people are saying they wish they would have traveled more. They wish they would have done more things. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna do that. So right around that time, I started getting these videos and stuff popping up on my phone about people converting vans and box trucks and buses and cars and like truck beds and SUVs and stuff and all this travel RV van life stuff. And I'm like, that is what I want to do. Something about it just resonated with me. I'm like, that is so cool. I have to do it. Like once the idea was in my head, it was there, right? So, and I'm talking about it. Like that's my plan. After high school, I'm going to travel. Everything. I just want to go see as much as I can see while I still can see it. Like before my body kind of starts to get old, I want to be able to capitalize on that. Also, while I'm not tied down to anything, I might as well take advantage of that also, right? But I was looking into vans. Vans seemed a little too small. I wanted something with a little more room. And I was like, ooh, a box truck. A box truck. Because I saw all these videos of people converting box trucks. I saw like the finished product of the box trucks. I'm like, this is so cool. And it looks, doable. And everything is square because it's a box truck. And, you can do like the stealth camping or whatever, which at the time I thought was super, super cool. I still think it is cool, but I don't think it's necessary. But then I saw the price of a box truck and I was like, that is steep, right? And a van, same with the vans. To get a good box truck or a good van, it was just stupid expensive, right? And I'm just coming out of like I will be just at the time I would be just going out of high school, no money, nothing saved up, So I needed to be as budget friendly and as cheap as possible. So I was kind of weighing my options here, right? Like I was like, do I drop the money on this, or like what else can I do? And then I seen some talk about people converting buses, and I'm like, ooh, that's really cool. But I don't want to have to drive a full school bus, Like like a full-size school bus is just too big for me to be comfortable driving around. And then I was like, oh, a short bus. That's perfect. But then some of the short buses were just a little too short. I'm like, okay, well then, I'm getting it back into like being like a van, right? There's just cramped and not enough room. And then I saw the buses that were like medium-sized, right? Bigger than a short bus, smaller than a full-size bus. And I'm like, I need that. That would be perfect for me because it's got just enough room to where I can be comfortable, but not too much room to where I'm uncomfortable driving it. And so, kind of still at the time when I was figuring this out, like what I wanted to do, I was still like waging the options, right? But that Christmas, my mom and dad got me a book, right? It's how to convert a school bus or van into a tiny home or recreational vehicle, right? And it just says schoolie on the front of it. They got it for me for Christmas, and they wrote a note in it. It says, to Grant, Christmas 2020, dreams can come true. Love you, buddy, Mom and Dad. And so I'm like, okay, it's on. This is what I'm doing. So for the rest of high school, I'm just kind of marinating in this thought of I'm gonna build a bus. I'm just thinking about it. It's all I can think about. I'm just looking into it. I'm planning. I had 1,000,001 different plans, right? And graduated and moved up to Minnesota because that's where my family was. And I moved in with my sister at the time because where my parents moved, it was kind of a no-name town. So there wasn't much work around. And so I moved in with my sister, started working at McDonald's, and I wasn't making, I was making all right money, okay? I was working overnights, which was tough. I didn't mind it. It was the complete opposite schedule of Maya, so I barely got to talk to her, And we were doing long distance, so that made it even harder. So while I was there, I bought a truck. It was like a 2001 Chevy, had like 300,000 miles on it. 0 brakes, bro. Nothing. Had no brakes at all. And I took it to the brake shop to be like, hey, how much is it going to be to fix? They were like, it's going to be like $2,200. I was like, I didn't even pay that much for the truck. I'm not about to do that. So I'm like, okay, give me my keys. I'm taking it home. They're like, we can't let you drive away in this. I'm like, well, I'm not paying for a tow truck. I don't have money for that. And he's like, well, we can do credit cards. I'm like, I'm not paying it. What do you not understand? I'm not paying for it. And so he's like, okay, fine. We'll take a tow truck to wherever. So I had them take the truck to my sister's apartment, and there it sat. And I'm like, shoot, I just spent $1,000 on this truck. I don't have hardly any money to my name. I'm trying to build my savings, and this whole time I'm just, hoping that I find a bus or a van or box truck that was in my price range that was also good. But I was mainly looking for a bus because I found out that would be my best option. I was at that point where I was like, I'm defeated. I've been trying. I want this so bad. There's not much. I can't do anything else. I was looking at all the government auctions. I was scrolling through Facebook, basically 24/7 trying to find a bus. I wasn't finding anything. And then all of a sudden, one day, this bus popped up. This bus popped up on Facebook Marketplace. And it was about 2 miles down the road from where my sister's apartment was. And I was like, oh, this is it. But it was $6,400. And I was like, this is the bus. This is exactly what I'm looking for. It's the perfect size. It's the perfect length. It's everything that I've been wanting in a bus, right? And at that point, I would have taken anything. Like, I would have taken any size bus and made it work. But just so happened that this specific bus popped up right down the road. So I messaged him. I was like, I don't have much cash to my name. All I have is like $3,500 and a truck. Would you be willing to trade that? And he was like, yes, that's perfect. When do you want to meet? And so I met up with him, checked out the truck. He liked the truck. He was going to convert the bus into an RV himself. But I think he like ran out of funds or something. Something happened to where he couldn't do it. I drove it back to my sister's place, quit McDonald's, took all my things, put it in the bus, and I was like, hey, Grandpa, I just bought a bus and I'm going to convert it into an RV. Can you help me? And, which I'm just now realizing I put them in such a tough spot. But they were like, yes. And so I drove the bus to my grandparents, and we just started, brainstorming. I was working and saving up money. Shortly after I bought the bus, winter came around, so I had to put it away in storage on my grandma's brother's property. Didn't do really any renovations at all other than patching holes and sanding rust spots on the floor. That's how this hat got so dirty. This actually was the hat that I wore every single day that I was working on the bus. So then I worked, and then once it started warming, I worked throughout winter, saving up as much as I could. Just stumbled across that Instagram post, and I was like, yep, this is what I'm doing. This is the perfect layout. It was built for this size bus, and I was like, or it was designed for this size bus. I showed my grandpa. I was like, hey, this is the plan. He's like, perfect. Let's start measuring. Let's start figuring it out. Like, if in order to be lucky, you've got to be in the right place, right? And so we measured it out, or we started measuring it out, and we got really just kind of confused and overwhelmed. Well, I did anyways. My grandpa seemed to have a level head, and he had everything under control the entire time. It felt like he had a plan the entire time and he knew exactly what he was doing. But I got overwhelmed a lot and really quick. He is very good at recognizing that and be like, all right, I think we should go get some lunch. Let's go get some lunch. Let's take a break. Come back to this later. I think we're at a good stopping point tonight. Let's clean up here before it gets too dark, get some dinner, which I'm super, super thankful for. It's crazy how, and he just always knew right when I was getting to that point. Got the bus out of storage. It was empty. We sanded all the rust off, put some rust stopping, Rust-Oleum over the top of it. Filled the holes with pennies. That was an idea from this book. We put caulk and then a penny over the top of it because it was cheaper than buying a hole filler. Okay, here it is. Look. See the pennies? Got some insulation for the floor, which was just foam board. Cut it, put it in. My grandpa built a little box to go around the spout, or the gas line that goes into the gas tank. So then we just we started from the fridge and then made our way around and ended over there. We kind of horseshoed our way around, and built the next thing based off of the thing we just built. And so after that, we went to the couch, and it was like the same cycle. We'd take a day to brainstorm and blueprint, and then we would measure. And then the next day, we would buy the materials that we just, figured out from the blueprint and brainstorming. And we would cut it all up, and depending on what time it was, and if we had daylight left, we would start building it. And then after that, we went to the bed, which this was tough trying to figure out because we had a few different plans. We almost had a desk drawer system under the bed that we were going to build the bed frame on top of, but we were like, this just doesn't fit, takes up too much space, it's not really worth it. I'd have no access to under the bed, and so we were like, you know what, we're overcomplicating it. Let's just leave it completely open under there. So that's what we did. After the bed, we started building the countertop, or the kitchen. That one did take a little while too to plan and figure out how we were going to do it. But that was another thing. Grandpa Urban, he was like, "Oh, I've got this," and he definitely did. He definitely did. I mean, everything. He was like, "I've got this," and I definitely have learned a lot from that level of, it's going to be okay. I can figure this out. So then it was really just, getting a countertop, figuring out, what we wanted it to look like or whatever. Got a sink, cut the hole in the sink. That was terrifying. Oh my goodness, cutting the hole in the sink. Oh my goodness, that was just so terrifying. But it worked out. It worked out just fine, just like everything else, and just like everything always does. So yeah. And then at the time, I was going to put a shower in. But we didn't end up doing that because we were still really on the fence about it. And I just recently, like last summer, me and Maya built it into like a closet. Same with these shelves, like this, which I'm so thankful for the shelves because it helps. It's just so nice having everything up here rather than down below. That's another thing I learned about this whole thing, this whole life process experience, whatever you want to call it. Regardless of what you do, people are going to be like, why the heck are you doing that? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. What are you doing? And you just gotta be like, whatever, man. It's like me and Maya decided on the color it is. It's like a purple pink, and they're like, why the heck would you paint the bus pink? Because I wanted to. Why the heck are you gonna live in a bus? Because I want to. And it's funny because everybody who's always like, you're gonna live in a bus, especially before I got the bus, or before I actually started working on the bus, and I'd tell people, yeah, I'm gonna live in a bus and travel. They'd be like, why the heck would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. Like, because I want to. Why does anybody do anything? You know, I just want to do it, so I'm going to do it. And then I'd usually just leave it at that, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's stupid," or you know. And then I'd give it 5 minutes or so, and then they'd always end up coming back and being like, "Okay, so if I were to do that, I would get this instead, and I would do that instead. I would get a motorcycle, and I'd pull a little motorcycle tent behind it, and I would travel that way, and I would do this and that, and instead of fully living in it, I would just go on the weekends. But I would get a van instead, or I would do it in the bed of my truck, you know, and just planting that seed of, you know, you can do what you want to do, you know. Nobody's stopping you other than yourself. And it may not seem possible, but if you truly want to do something and you put in the effort, it'll come about. You know, just give it a little time. Just regardless of what it is, just give it a little time. It'll come around. Okay, now let's get into the actually living side of things. Being that, okay. I was gonna have that be a shower, right? I was gonna have the closet be a shower. I decided not to because of like the plumbing and stuff. It was too much. I didn't want to have to drill more holes in the floor. It still can be. It's just not right now. But I was also gonna have a composting toilet. But then I'm like, I don't want my toilet right next to my kitchen. Like, I don't know, that just didn't feel right, you know. And some people do that. Some people have their composting toilet, you know, right in there, and they're totally fine with it. Not me. I'd rather stop at a gas station bathroom, stop at a gym, you know, use the campground facilities, use the national park facilities. It just feels weird to use the bathroom in my living area. So in order to use the bathroom, I've got to walk a good bit. Last year's, I counted my steps, but it ended up being like a football field, like walking a football field there and back. Well, not like half a football field there, half a football field back, just to use the bathroom, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. But, you know, gotta give up some luxuries. Same with the shower. You gotta walk to the same place. This campground specifically does a really, really good job of keeping their facilities nice and clean, which is really nice for me. Same with everywhere else I've been. I haven't been to one where it's like, you know, so thankfully. But yeah, there's also always gyms. Like, I can shower at the gym and whatnot. First year I was here was that really long walk. I ended up having my dad bring me a bike down so I could ride it there and back so I could get to the bathroom quicker. Last year I was one row closer to the bathroom than I am this year, which isn't that big of a difference, but the first year I was way over there. Yeah, that's really like the biggest inconvenience, is having to walk to the bathroom and walk to the shower. But it's not that bad, you know. I hit my step goal a lot easier that way. Laundry, I've got to go to the laundromat because I don't have a washer and dryer, right? I was going to have a washer and dryer. Maya had got one. It was like a washer dryer combo. It was smaller, that I could use, but I just didn't have anywhere to put it. So I ended up not having that in here. I've got a dishwasher. Maya got me a little dishwasher for Christmas last year. Coolest thing ever. That thing is freaking sweet. It fits, you know, a day and a half worth of dishes. So I just set it on the counter, fill it up with water. Oh, that's another thing. I gotta walk to fill up my gallon. I got 4 1-gallon jugs that I fill up with water for my dishwasher from just like a spigot on the side of the house, or not the house, the facilities. And I have a milk crate with 4 of them in there, and I walk over, fill all 4 of them up, walk back, and then it can do two, almost 3 loads of dishes. I've got a 5-gallon jug. I've got 2 5-gallon jugs, one with clean water, one with drain water. And then the drain water one I just dump in the drain. Like if I were to have if I was a normal camper with water and stuff, I would put the drain line in there. But since I don't, I just pour the jug in there, and I just put the faucet back under, or put the tube back under the drain, or the jug back under. I put the tube in the jug that's under the sink so it can drain into the jug. Jeez. The thing I wish I had was Wi-Fi, I'd really like to get some sort of T-Mobile home internet, or that Starlink something. I'd like to get some sort of mobile Wi-Fi. That way, I can play video games and stuff. I mean, I can use my hotspot on my phone, and the campground has Wi-Fi too. But the hotspot on my phone doesn't really last that long, and the campground Wi-Fi is good for the first day of the month, and then it just sucks after that. So I'd like to eventually get some Wi-Fi, but I just don't have the money for that right now. If you still have any questions, or you want to see anything else, just drop them in the comments. As always, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate, your questions and comments and stuff. It makes me feel like I'm talking to somebody, like makes me feel like, I don't know. I can imagine talking to somebody versus just talking to myself, and that helps a lot when I'm imagining you're actually sitting on the other side of the camera. So yeah, I appreciate the comments a lot. So yeah, alrighty. See you in the next one. Peace!